Every morning at sunrise, the quiet neighborhood witnessed the same strange sight: an old man with a cold expression, walking 8 massive German shepherds down the empty street with military-level precision. No smiles, no greetings, no hesitation. Just 8 perfectly disciplined dogs moving like shadows beside him. People whispered behind curtains. Some said he was dangerous. Others believed he was hiding something. Children were pulled indoors. Doors quietly locked when he passed, but the old man never spoke, never explained, never missed a single morning. No one knew where he lived, or why the dogs obeyed him like soldiers, until one freezing morning when the old man didn't show up. And what the neighbors discovered behind his locked door shattered the entire town. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Every morning at dawn, the quiet neighborhood witnessed the same unsettling routine. An old man with a stern expression walked down the cobblestone street. 8 German shepherds moving beside him in perfect formation. Their paws struck the ground in unison, their eyes sharp, their posture disciplined, almost military. The man never looked left or right, never greeted anyone, never paused. He simply marched forward with silent determination. Curtains shifted, doors cracked open, and curious eyes watched, wondering who he was, and why his dogs obeyed him so intensely. As days turned into weeks, the quiet curiosity around the old man grew into uneasy whispers. Neighbors gathered on porches, exchanging theories in low voices. Some insisted he was a retired soldier haunted by his past. Others claimed he was training the dogs for something dangerous. Children were warned to stay indoors whenever he passed. Even friendly neighbors avoided eye contact, afraid their greeting might be met with cold silence. No one knew where he lived, what he did, or why his dogs moved like disciplined shadows around him. The dogs themselves became the center of every neighborhood rumor. They never barked at passing cars, never chased squirrels, never pulled on their leashes. Instead, they moved with eerie control heads high, steps steady, eyes scanning every corner as if guarding something precious. When the old man stopped, they stopped. When he turned, they turned. Their unity was so flawless that even trained handlers in the area whispered in awe. These weren't ordinary pets. They were a silent, synchronized force, and that only deepened the mystery around their owner. Among all the curious onlookers, one person watched more closely than the rest: a new neighbor named Emma. She noticed things others overlooked. The old man's stiff walk, the way he pressed a hand to his side when he thought no one was looking, the protective glances the dogs gave him whenever he winced. To Emma, their behavior wasn't frightening, it was familiar. The dogs weren't guarding the neighborhood from him. They were guarding him from the world. One crisp morning, as the old man crossed the street, a cyclist came speeding down the hill, eyes on his phone. Before anyone could shout a warning, one of the German shepherds lunged forward, planting itself firmly in the bike's path. The cyclist swerved, narrowly avoiding a disastrous collision. Instantly, all 8 dogs moved around the old man, forming a tight protective circle. Neighbors who witnessed it froze in shock. The precision, the speed, the coordination, it was unlike anything they had ever seen. These dogs weren't reacting. They were trained to respond. After witnessing the dogs' flawless coordination, Emma's curiosity turned into a quiet determination. The next morning, she slipped on her jacket and followed him from a careful distance. The old man never looked back, but the dog's ears twitched as if they sensed her presence. She stayed far enough not to alarm them, watching as he took a route none of the neighbors ever mentioned, down narrow alleys, past forgotten buildings, toward a part of town most people avoided. Emma watched from behind a rusted fence as the old man approached a crumbling brick building at the end of the street. Its windows were boarded, the paint peeling from years of neglect. Yet the dogs lined up outside with perfect discipline, facing outward like trained guards protecting an invisible perimeter. The old man unlocked the heavy door and slipped inside without hesitation. The dogs remained still, silent, alert, unwavering. Whatever was inside that building, Emma knew it wasn't something ordinary neighbors were meant to see. The next morning, the neighborhood felt strangely quiet. People peeked through curtains, expecting to see the old man and his 8 dogs marching down the street as always. But the sidewalk remained empty. No steady footsteps. No disciplined formation. No towering German shepherds. Then suddenly faint whining echoed from the alley. The 8 dogs stood there alone, pacing anxiously, their eyes scanning every direction. Neighbors gathered, confused and unsettled. For years, the old man had never missed a single morning. His absence felt wrong, like a warning none of them understood before anyone could guess what was happening. The 8 German shepherds suddenly rushed toward Emma, circling her with desperate urgency. Their disciplined calm was gone, replaced by anxious pacing and sharp, troubled whines. One dog tugged gently at her jacket, another nudged her leg, all of them trying to pull her in the same direction. Emma's heart pounded. These dogs weren't acting out, they were pleading. Neighbors watched in stunned silence as Emma finally understood the old man wasn't missing by choice. Something was wrong, and the dogs needed her to follow. Emma let the dogs lead her, their urgent strides pulling her through the alley and straight toward the old, crumbling building she had seen before. Several neighbors followed behind, whispering nervously. When they reached the door, the dogs began scratching and whining, their desperation unmistakable. Emma grabbed the rusted handle and pushed locked. A neighbor stepped forward with a determined look and slammed his shoulder against it. The weakened wood cracked, then splintered, bursting open. Instantly, the dogs rushed inside, barking loudly for the first time. Emma's heart raced. Whatever waited inside, the dogs wanted her to see it. The moment Emma stepped inside, her breath caught in her throat. The dim room was lined with old photographs, black and white images of soldiers standing proudly beside German shepherds. Medals hung on the walls, alongside faded certificates stamped with military seals. Training manuals, rescue reports, and newspaper clippings covered an entire corner, each headline mentioning heroic K9 units. Emma slowly realized she wasn't inside an abandoned building at all. This was a hidden memorial, a tribute to dogs who had served and saved lives. And in every photograph, standing tall beside different K9 teams, was the same man they knew only as the silent old neighbor. The dogs guided Emma and the neighbors deeper into the building, their anxious whines echoing through the hallway. In the back room, they found the old man lying on the floor, his breathing shallow, his face pale. One of the dogs rested its head on his chest, refusing to leave his side. Emma knelt down, checking his pulse. It was weak but present. A medical kit lay spilled nearby, as if he'd tried to help himself before collapsing. Suddenly, everything made sense. His limp, his silence, his rigid routine. The man wasn't dangerous, he was sick. And his loyal dogs had been fighting desperately to save him. The dogs guided Emma and the neighbors deeper into the building, their anxious whines echoing through the hallway. In the back room, they found the old man lying on the floor, his breathing shallow, his face pale. One of the dogs rested its head on his chest, refusing to leave his side. Emma knelt down, checking his pulse. It was weak but present. A medical kit lay spilled nearby, as if he'd tried to help himself before collapsing. Suddenly, everything made sense. His limp, his silence, his rigid routine. The man wasn't dangerous, he was sick. And his loyal dogs had been fighting desperately to save him. The ambulance arrived within minutes, but the dogs refused to move as the paramedics lifted the old man onto the stretcher. They pressed close, forming a tight circle around him, their eyes filled with fear and unwavering devotion. Even as the paramedics guided him toward the ambulance, the dogs followed step for step, refusing to be separated. At the hospital entrance, staff tried gently holding them back, but the dogs sat firmly by the doors, waiting with unshakable patience. Their loyalty was absolute, no barking, no panic, just silent, heartbreaking devotion to the man they loved and had protected for years. News of the old man's past spread quickly through the neighborhood. The same people who once avoided him now felt a deep shame for judging him without understanding. Volunteers gathered to clean the crumbling building he had been using as a secret memorial and training space. They repaired walls, repainted rooms, and organized his old photographs with care. What was once ignored became a place of respect and admiration. Slowly, the town transformed its fear into gratitude, realizing the old man hadn't been hiding danger. He had been preserving history. A week later, the old man finally opened his eyes. When the hospital doors slid apart, the 8 German shepherds leaped to their feet, tails wagging wildly. For the first time anyone had ever seen, the old man smiled, soft, genuine, grateful. The dogs rushed toward him. He wasn't alone anymore. The town understood now. Those 8 dogs weren't just his companions. They were his family, and he was theirs.